So hi, this is Ramakrishna Kamma. So I'm going to demonstrate a project about like operating systems for smartphones. That is none other than like Android operating systems. So before going to dive into the Android operating systems, we just need to know like the basic principles of the OS. Like I mean to say that like operating systems. So what is operating systems? We all know that like operating systems like act as a interface between the software and hardware. Like I mean to say that like if we want to give like any input, like suppose if we type our name in a computer system, it will take from the keyboard and just enter into the CPU and enter into the hardware. So this is it will take like operating system normally we do like taking the input from the keyboard and give it to the hardware like for the processing. So this will be task will be done by using the operating systems. So here, the standard operating system definition as follows: like an operating system is a software program that enables the computer hardware to communicate with the and operate the computer software. So without our operating system, is a computer cannot be nearly useless. Suppose in the below diagram, in the beside diagram, we able to see that like we are entering the input like a monitor. So and the input will be taken by the CPU and just will be processed and display in a monitor screen. So similarly, for the case of like a mouse, like printers, applications, etc., like any one of the things will be done by using the operating systems. So in a computer system to run any program, at least one operating system must be required. So for the coming to the type of operating systems, like for example, like in present generation, like we are able to see that different kind of operating systems will be there. From Microsoft, it is a Windows operating systems. We are all familiar with that. Like a Windows operating system must be used in our laptops. So from the Apple, we are using to see that like iOS or like Mac OS. From the coming to the Android, it is one of the operating system which is mostly used for the mobile device. For the Linux family, it is like Ubuntu we are using for that. So like what is like first of all Android operating systems and why we are taking Android operating systems. So Android operating system is a firstly open source operating system which is like a build on a Linux kernel. So the main theme of this operating system is to anyone can able to develop and anyone can able to modify the code according to their own requirements. Suppose like if we consider about the like a Vivo operating systems, it will be using a FunTouch OS like for the kind of like Oppo, it will be using for a color OS kind of things. Like it will be taking the base operating system and will be modifying according to the requirements and will be doing their specifications in that particular system. So here, the main purpose of smart device to use a touch screen inputs are the primary audience for the Android operating systems, as we are discussing. So, just like a Windows, Linux, Mac OS, as we discussed in the previous slides. So, in fact, it is one of the most popular one for the mobile devices, particularly. So, it is like multi-user, multitasking, and multi-processor. So, we will be talking about that the characteristics of Android operating system for the further slides. So, like it will be run on a multiple hardware platforms. So, coming to the characteristics of operating systems, Android operating system, that is nothing but multi-user operating system. A multi-user operating system allows nothing but it able to use like multiple users to same computer system at the same time or at different times. Suppose if we are using like one Android device for the more than one people, we can able to do that. Like suppose like one person can be able to connect with the external cable by using some mouse or kind of thing by using the USB ports. So some people will be able to do that things by using his touch hands by using that things that is by using a multi-user operating system. So multi-processing operating system. So multi-processing operating system is utilizing more than one processor at a time. So coming to the multitasking, like multitasking means we can able to do a multiple task at a time. Suppose for example, if while we are talking to our phone, like we'll be making to chat with our friends. So that's one of the good example for multitasking. Multi-threading means that operating system will have two different parts of the software program to run concurrently. So I mean to say that like if we are using like a Instagram and like Facebook as a concurrently, like we can able to do that. Like if we can switch that things and we can able to do that things. So open source software systems. So open source, as I discussed earlier, anyone can able to develop other code and we can able to modify that according to the requirements. Let us deep dive into the like a history of the Android. Android, like maybe invented, like maybe its era has been started in 2003, like from the Andy Rubin and Rich Miner and Nick Sayes and Chris White, created by the Android Inc. in California. So later on that, like Android being firstly they thought that the Android system must be used for the cameras, but they thought that it has an importance in the like mobile phones. So they converted from the digital cameras to the mobile phones. So in July 2005, Google has acquired Android Inc. about like 50 billion. So later on, like it has been made a significant developments in the Android operating system. So the first Android operating system is released in 2008 by T-Mobile headset, which is manufactured by the HTC. So coming to the Android versions from until like from the 2008 to like 2022, like we are in 2022 and beginning of the 2023. So here we have like 13 Android improvements will be done. Like it becomes so popular because of its APIs. And its APIs and like a user interface. Like this, the more things will become Android becomes like much popular in present era, because like from Android one itself, like they have done like a lot of improvements in Android. Like for example, in Android one itself, they have introduced a Bluetooth alarm, like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth headset. Like these all things will be introduced in Android one itself. So coming to the Android 1.1, like they have from the time frame itself, they are continuously improving the things. So let us consider like a cupcake version of Android, that is like Android 1.5. So in that, like they have made a like significant improvements in that particular Android. Like that is nothing but like they have location preferences, GPS, all these things will be done. Like for the case of Android like 1.6, that is donut version, they have been done in like in tones, in the case of like a text input browsing kind of thing. So for the case of Android 2, they have done a lot of improvements to the UI for that. Like for the case of Android 3.0, like for push notification, user interface improvements, like fast accessing, that will be done by using Android 3. So for the case of Android 4, like they have done like significant improvements in that case of like they have done a lot of improvements in ice cream version. That is nothing but like they have increased the like how we can at recognizing the text, and we just need to process the text. And for the case of Android 5, that is like lollipop versions, like they have done improvements like widgets kind of things, and Wi-Fi adaptability, network coverages, all these things will be done in Android 5. So coming to the like Android 5 and Android 6 or no to 13, they have done a lot of improvements. Like for the case of like Android 6, like they have done like improvements regarding the Marshmallow, like the file system has been included, like so that it will be helpful to we have to manage our files very easily. Suppose like before that, like when we open file, it will take some time to user to open the file and access the file. But after the Marshmallow versions, like it will be very easy to user to open the file in any locations, so we can get the files. So now got Oreo, Pi, Android 10, 11, 12, 13. These are the lot of improvements has been done from the recent years. So particularly case of like we need to talk about the like Android 12 and 13. So Android 12, which has been released in 2022 February. So it has been like done like a stability enhancements, like a lot of UI functionalities, like, and we have a multitasking, multi-user, multi-processing. All these things will be done in 12, 13. All these things. Like for the case of 13, like it will be released in 2022 February. So it will be have a stable version in a Google Pixel, Pixel 6, Pixel 7, Pixel 8 kind of thing we have been. This is like a brief information about the Android versions till now, I guess. So coming to the design goals of the Android systems. So Android is like a multi-user, multitasking based upon the alignment kernel, as we has discussed in the diagram. So like in the previous slides, is mainly focus on the application delivery, a fantastic user experience. As we discussing that, like it becomes like one of the most popular because of this user interface. Like anyone can be able to use this user interface very easily. So how well an application interacts with other applications, and it is responsive to the keystrokes and other actions. So for example, here in the diagram, so if we are like I think we are all familiar with the Instagram, Facebook, all these kind of apps. So we thought that like its apps will be like very easy to design and develop things. But the main theme here is like to develop the app, like we have like so many components which we need to do beforehand. Like suppose if it is suppose we have a kind of things, apps will be the top layer. So in that, before we are to need to know that like how Android framework, native libraries, how will we work that, Android runtime, HAL, HIDL, like it will be like a low code interface design and Linux kernel. So these all things we need to know. So then only we can able to develop that much of app kind of things, so that it can be like a good user interface to the user. So then coming to the memory management. So Android automatically manages the memory used by the installed apps. So as we discussed that Android becomes like a Android before Android 6.0, after Android 6.0, because like it has done a lot of changes in after the marshmallow version. So paging and memory mapping used by Delvic virtual machine and Android runtime to manage the memory. So that is the things we have done a lot. So if there is no things like, the system begins to detect with the process and application has been idle for the long time. That means that like if we're not using the system apps for a long time, it will be a turn at the users for that. The system suspend the application functions when it is not in use. That is well discussed that idle statement are reopened. So they do not utilize the battery life, and we have to improve the CPU utilization also. Coming to the process management, so we all know that like process management, I mean to say that an instance of a running program is called as a process. Every time we run the command, like we run a process call, it is suppose like if we give a like input like our team TAMUC.com. So if we enter the input in a browser, like it will be browse and get the details of that particular thing. I mean to they say that we need to give an input and we'll process it, and browser we need to display the users. So in order to do that, we just say that it is like we just giving the command that will be processing. But in the behind, there is a lot of processing will be done. Like coming to the types of process, like we have a foreground process, user experience, service process, cached process. So the foreground process is nothing but like the process which is be able to see that in a foreground. Like suppose if we type like a tamuc.com, like if it will be display like we get input from the user and will be displayed in a browser. That is a foreground. Coming to the user experience, we likely significantly impact by the killing a visible process that actively performing the work that user aware of. I mean to say that like if we are using a two or more like applications at a time, like if we open the 10 tabs in a 10 tabs in a mobile phone, like it will be killing that the tabs which are not using for a long time. After that, like service process means that like we are now using the applications that are in a background. Like I mean to say that if you one in charge of running all the services, although client cannot be see these operating system operations directly, the system will be able to keep in a such process running until there is not enough memory. So if it is not enough memory will be present like that, so then we'll automatically kill that process in the background itself. Cache it process. Cache means that like whatever the apps we are able to use that frequently, it will be stored in a cache so that it will begin open the apps in very fast. So that is one of the reason. So we will get apps like suppose if we are using the Instagram app like frequently, it will open like when we are open that because like the data will be stored in the background. So that is one of the things we'll be regarding the process management. So coming to the device management, Android Enterprise is essentially standard set of Google Execute APIs. As we discussed that, like a Google, like whatever the reason, maybe Android becomes a famous for that is APIs. So and MDM. So mobile device management provides user to interface, build a project, communicate with the web, and manage the various parts of Android device like cameras, like changing the background, rendering. All this will be happening in device management. So improvements in Android voice from the past. So there have been a couple of improvements that have been made from the past, like device selection made simple from the Android enterprise recommendations. So Android zero touch automation enrollment, using Android work profile in a combination with the work and play, using managed Google Play for the management apps. This have been done long. Like suppose if Android 10 have some improvements. Android, if we release Android 11, that means that they have a lot of improvements and be going on that each and every time with the time frame going on. So that's one of the reason also becomes like it becomes so popular. So coming to the categories of device management, so we have some particular categories also will be present. So from coming to the Kobo or kiosk mode, like it is like we can define as corporate owned or business only. I mean to say that like suppose if we have a work day will be present for us as a staff portal for the like a tamuc.com. So for that case, like the people like the staff members will be only able to access for the work day in our tamuc website. That is one of the case where it will be similar to that it will be only for the particular private group or the particular people in the organization. So coming to the corporate owned or personally able COP, so it will be able to use like everyone can able to do that. Suppose like if we want to download an app for the Facebook, so we can just go to the Android like Play Store or iOS Play Store. We can just able to download it. We can use it. That is like personally enabled things. BIOD, so it's a bring own device. I mean to show that, which is effectively means that user can control the device more than one organization does. So while companies can install a work profile to regulate the programs and data, in general, it's simple data from the data profile management. Additionally, it's lower the temporarily expenditure. So that's one of the things. So coming to the like file management of Android systems. So Android offers like wide variety of access to and control the files saved on the device. So I mean to say that previously also like, so it will be very effective in the case of Android file management systems. So we can able to access the files very fastly. So in Android 6.0, maximally Android 6 had no own native file management will be present. So with the new updates will be starting from the Android 7 and higher. So cloud storage was supported and there was able to connect with the shared apps via external devices like USB, TV and tablets. We are able to know that all these things will be using in our day-to-day lives. So and coming to the like types of file system, so ES File Explorer and Solid Explorer. So and Google has had done a significant improvements in the file management also. That is in that. So it has a like a files app will be able to helpful to simply connect the transfer the softwares between the Android devices. Whereas in the case of cloud sync technology, the new generation of Android OS that has been currently market with this technology, all of our applications and accounts connected to the second and third-party companies synced with the Google, giving a user access to the network files has been combined with the combined data and credentials. I mean to say that suppose if we have a like suppose if we purchase anything, like if we search for like a school bag in a like a browser, it will be like Google will be take the data from us and will be processed for third parties, and so that if next time we will be open the browser and will be giving an advertisement about that particular bag, and that kind of things will be done by using the file management. Coming to the security management. So security management has been done like a wonderful job in Android OS because like it using the inter-process communication to enable the secure communication between the applications executing in different procedures. Suppose like, for example, like in order to open the apps, like we just need to have enable our password protection so that it will be able to like give a private and privacy and that things for the particular Android operating systems. So backup and disaster recovery plan, security hardening, cryptographic APIs, firewall management, automatic patch management, account security management. So backup and disaster recovery plan. Suppose the 3-2-1 rule is the ideal practice for that. Keep the 3 backups of copy 2 while we should be stored in an offset and the other one will be in a storage or media. So security hardening. Keep up to the speed of an Android virtual vulnerabilities and regularly updating of a system can be helpful to protect from the unintentional data breaches and system inventions. So cryptographic APIs, the execution of well-known and often used cryptographic APIs like AES, RSA, DSC, and SHA. So carefully monitoring the SSA connections may be useful for advantage of cyber threats and other SHA recommendation practice to be block all the root logins for the SHS. Suppose if we want to open the like HTTP and HTTPS, like HTTPS will be like more secure than HTTP. So in that case, like it can be offer various kind of security, that kind of security. And firewall management, implementing the firewall in another important item on our Android security checklist, as well as a best practice for keeping our Android systems compact and secured. So another way is like automatic patch management. An automatic patch management is a system can handle the security patches as soon as they are released during the non-business hours. Suppose like I mean to say that like before like we just don't have like a passwords protection for our apps. So but later or some point of time like after 8 or something, so we just need to know that we can able to enhance our security by using we can set password protection with our apps also. So coming to the account security management, we all know that Android has option setting a password verification before granting access to the device. So we know that like this password safeguards a cryptographic key for a full system encryption in addition to that preventing illegal access to the device. So coming to the device interface, like Android device interfaces are much more easy when compared to all other operating systems. There is no doubt at all, I guess. So because like here there is so many people will be like the people with illiterates also we can able to access and do the things whatever they want. So here is a sample example for that. Like here we can able to see that in our first image we can able to see that time, date, and some notifications, and in the top like we can able to see that like Wi-Fi and network and battery and profile of the user. So in the bottom we can able to see that like I have a phone connection, lock, and camera. So in the second image we can able to see that like browser, calculator, calendar, camera, Google Chrome, clock, contacts, docs, something kind of things which will be very easy. And suppose in a case of like command line interface, like we can just need to type it commands, but and we just need to remember that. But in the case of Android, it's like all RGI. That means that graphical user interface in which user can able to handle the scroll on the screen and perform the various tasks on the device. So that's about the user interface. So coming to the future direction and conclusion, there is no doubt at all like the Android has been growing a large from the coming years. So when we see that like trends of these, so there is so many people will be using the Android device from the starting of 2008 when compared to these. And around 2 billion people use the Android, and Google Play Store has been more than 50 billion app downloads will be there. So Android is now network has the greatest user base. There is no doubt at all. One of the key reasons to Android success is widespread usability. I can say that regardless of our future, Android is never created. We may not have a mobile device that we have it today, I guess so. So coming to the companies which handle the Android line of business, that is nothing but like we have a couple of companies which will be handling. We all know that like Samsung, Sony, Nokia, OnePlus, Oppo, Realme, Vivo, Xiaomi, Motorola, Panasonic, LG, Huawei, HTC, Google, Dell. These are the companies will be majorly focusing on the line of business. There are some of other companies who will be focusing on the majorly like some negligible part of the contract. Like these are companies will be focusing on mainly. And like coming to thank you for that things.